In this lesson, we will create animation controls for the IK legs. Now, before getting started, continuing from the last lesson, I wanted to point out something that is not necessarily vital, but it's something that you might consider. So you can see that on the right side of the character's foot, you have the y-axis, for example, just pointed down. You can see how the orientation is matched throughout the foot, except for our bank helpers. So again, this is not critical at all. This will not prevent the rig from working. But if you like the orientation to be matched closer to what we have here on the right side where our values are flipped, just go ahead and head over to your bank helper. Make sure you're using the gimbal coordinate system, and all you need to do is go ahead and flip the x-axis. You can see here, if we were to take a look at the heel, the x is set to -90. So you can do the same thing here for the heel helper. Go ahead and set that to -90. And we'll do the same thing for the helper on the opposite side of the right foot. And we're good to go. So again, it's not critical at all, but if you wanted to kind of clean up things a bit, you most certainly can do that. All right, let's go ahead and create our IK controls. We can create tapered arrows. We can attach them together and have them point at the ankles. Let's move over to our side view. We'll go ahead and grab our line tool, and we could always just snap to grid. I'll right click to check the snap settings. Should have it set to grid points. Great. I'll go ahead and press the S key to enable snap. And now you can follow my lead here. Just go ahead and create an arrow shape, and we'll have it taper. Best control ever. All right, let's go ahead and close our spline, right click to exit our line tool, and now we can move back to our perspective view. From there, let's go ahead and press the S key to turn off snapping. We'll press A to enable axis snapping. We'll hold down Shift and we'll go ahead and rotate to clone this object, and we'll rotate it about -90 in our x-axis. So it's perpendicular to the first shape. We'll now go ahead and choose OK. And we can head over to our Modify panel to attach the shapes. All right, great. So once they've been attached, we can go ahead and take this object and add it to our controls layer. All right, great. Let's go ahead and start to move this in place. What I'd like to do is go ahead and center the pivot on this object. And now we can go ahead and align this to the left ankle. Feel free to go ahead and hide the character for now. Let's go ahead and hide that model layer. And we'll use Shift A to quick align this to our ankle. We could either select one of the nubs, we can select the ankle bone, anything that will bring us right to this pivot point. That's where the ankle should pivot from, so that when we start to rotate it, we won't have any shifting in the knee. So we'll get some desirable rotation from this very point. All right, let's say we start to resize this. So we'll go to our scale tool and just start bringing this down a bit more. I think that's going to work out well. We can go back to our hierarchy panel and choose Effect Object Only, so we can start to slide this back. All right, great. So the pivot is exactly where we need it to be, and the object is easy to select. We might want to go in and rename it. That might be a good idea. So we'll name this Anim L leg underscore IK01. We'll want to link this to our global control. All right, great. We could also enable thickness. Let's go ahead and head over to our Modify panel, and we'll find Rendering, Enable in Viewport. We'll go to the Utilities tab, and let's go ahead and reset the X-form on this object. Great. So from there, we'll go ahead and collapse it down. Again, using Modifier Stack Result. Let's go back to the Modify panel, and let's go ahead and set the thickness to something a little bit lower, to about 0.5. That's better. Okay, now, this would be a good time to go ahead and freeze this object. So we'll go ahead and Alt-right click and choose Freeze Transform. taking a look at its orientation, I think this is going to work very nicely. If we were to just go ahead and start rotating this around. So I don't think there's any need to change the axis order on this object. Great. All right, but what we can do is go ahead and work on recoloring this. So remember, we're going to change the colors on our right and left sides. On the left side, let's go ahead and press F3 so we can take a look at things in shaded mode. So on this left side, we could always work with, let's say, a color of light purple. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and cone this across. So just go ahead and grab the Move tool, hold down Shift, and just translate that over. And we'll rename it from here. That's going to be NMR leg IK01. All right, from there, we'll want to quick align this to the ankle. All right, great. And we can now go ahead and freeze its transforms. Let's go ahead and recolor this to, let's say, a light green. All right, so these are the colors we'll use for our right and left halves. All right, beautiful. So now that these are in place, we can go ahead and create a custom parameter that we'll use to control the knee. That way we can keep our control rig as clean as possible. So with the control object selected, let's go ahead and Alt-right click to grab our attribute holder. We'll right click and we can rename this to Extra Controls. Great. So from there, we'll press Alt-1 and let's go ahead and work with a float type. We're going to name this parameter knee swivel. So that's knee underscore swivel. And let's go ahead and give this a pretty decent min and max range so we have a lot of control over the knee. So we could always work with negative 360 for our from range, and for our to range, that'll be positive 360. Of course, we can go even higher than that if we'd like. But everything looks good. We can now choose add, and there is our parameter. So we'll just want to tie the knee swivel into the swivel channel on our IK goal. Let's go ahead and first set up the custom parameter on the control object on our right side. I'll go ahead and pause the video. Alright, so here is our custom parameter. So we can finish up by wiring the swivel channel of our IK goal into the knee swivel channel. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. We'll go ahead and grab our animation control. Let's right click and choose wire parameters. That's going to be modified object, extra controls. We'll go ahead and grab the knee swivel. Let's go ahead and find the IK goal. Where are you? There it is. Alright, with that selected, that's going to be transform, and here's the swivel angle. Now, we'll have to use degree to radians to convert this value down. Internally, Max handles rotation with radians, so we'll need to make sure that we use radians when we go ahead and connect this. But just to kind of show you why, if we were to go ahead and choose connect now and start to move the knee swivel, you'll notice that the control is pretty extreme. So we're getting a lot of twisting using a very minor weight here, a small value. So if we were to go back to our parameter dialog, we can go ahead and concatenate knee swivel, and then just before that, we'll go ahead and type in deg to rad. So it's capital D, capital T, and capital R. So this now will allow us to get much better control from our knee swivel. So if we were to go ahead and choose update, go ahead and close out of our parameter dialog and start to move the knee swivel, you'll notice that the control is less extreme. It's nice and smooth. All right, I'll go ahead and right click on the knee swivel to zero it back out, and that's what we need to do on the right side. So again, with our animation control selected, we'll right click, grab wire parameters. That's going to be modified object, extra controls. Here's the knee swivel. Let's go ahead and find the IK goal. tie that into the swivel angle. We use the lower arrow. And before we connect, let's go ahead and add our deg2rad function. All right, from there we can go ahead and connect and test this out. So everything should work just fine. Fantastic. All right, well, that's going to be it for this lesson. In the next lesson, we are ready to connect our foot rig to our animation controls.